gonna be honest, BONELAB wasn't what I was expecting. I was kind of expecting Boneworks 2, but instead I got Blade and Sorcery. But actually good! Hey everyone, I'm Wyckoff72 and welcome to BONELAB, the sequel to ever. And this video is a sequel to Boneworks, the best game to ever, a video I did before this, which is probably my most biggest YouTube video I've ever done. But I'm not saying that, you know, oh, you guys should totally watch this one before, because that video is an hour long, so I don't expect anybody to watch it. But I did put a lot of effort into it, and that covers the entirety of Boneworks, where here we will be covering the entirety of BONELAB. Some people didn't seem to understand the point of the last video, so I'm going to say at the start of this video so I don't get any comments saying,
why is this your first playthrough?
And
the intro was too long.
When there is timestamps in the description for a reason, my friends. And also, speaking of timestamps, all the timestamps and other things you need to find in the description will all be there for you. So a quick rundown of what this video is so I get no more rotten tomatoes thrown at me. This is basically just a video where I cover the entirety of BONELAB and I talk about every single thing and everything I can think of on reasons why I love this game, and I go through level by level, and this time I'm also going to be covering side content compared to what I didn't do in the Boneworks video. And yes, I'm aware the title of this video does not make sense. First area you enter in the game is main menu, but no one cares. First area you enter in the game is Descent, and here you start off in a deep dark void, similar to where we left off in Boneworks. So maybe this is a direct sequel to Boneworks.
No, it's not!
So as always, Void is a very prominent figure in this game, similar to as it was in Boneworks and Duck Season. And there's a lot I've noticed about it, which will definitely come up later in the video, so stick around. As soon as you're done picking how ashamed you are of your own body, then a noose comes swinging in. I don't know about you, but from what I've heard, if a noose is in the game, it's good. That's why Omori's popular, right? And by the way, what you see here is a live reenactment of what happens when I enter a Pikmin community server. So supposedly the entirety of BONELAB takes place inside of Fantasyland, which was an unfinished game being developed by the in-game Stress Level 0 developers, not to be confused with the real Stress Level 0 developers. It's an entire time loop and it's really hard to understand. But then conveniently a knife appears from nowhere from our friend Jimmy, and then we get saved and fall into this pit and die, but we actually don't die. That's the twist. And now down here is where we hear the Down Here song. Ha, see what I did there? So for those of you hardcore Boneworks fans out there will know and realise that this is a remix of the Bone theme, the main theme of Boneworks. Hearing more interpretations of this leitmotif really hit me deep, because hearing that throughout the entirety of Boneworks, which was my favourite game, and now hearing a bit of it in BONELAB was so awesome. You'll notice that throughout the video there is a few more songs that use this leitmotif. Not to mention that this song is heavily foreshadowing the rest of the story, in how Fantasyland is abandoned, and also kind of how Boneworks is now abandoned, because that game is over and won't receive any more updates, which really cuts deep. So Descent serves as our tutorial this time around instead of the museum and break room which we had in Boneworks, which I still think was a really great tutorial, but this one is also really good, and it's also a lot more extreme. You get into a lot more stuff a lot faster. For example, in the entirety of Boneworks, the first two levels there was no enemies to fight, but here we get our first enemies, which actually are the skeletons, which is surprising. Now, one thing about the skeletons, I'm really sad that you can't rip their limbs off while they're still alive. I know that sounds super messed up, but come on, that would have been so awesome. Despite this game's few flaws, I am still as confident as a 13-year-old who wants to be a game developer that you should buy this game. And this level still serves as a really great tutorial. Similar to how Boneworks did it, it doesn't actually throw shit in your face, instead you kind of discover it yourself without really realising that you're actually learning. Throughout the game you will find radios again, but this time they don't just play music. Instead we have Jimmy speaking to us, a member of the Lava Gang, which are very important in this game.
Al here was causing a lot of trouble over at Thankyous. Good thing I showed up, right?
And I bring this up now because Jimmy is a very awesome character, and I'll tell you why later when we go see him. Also, Michael Wyckoff made a remix of the radio song, which is really awesome, but for some reason it's really loud. And now when we walk through these doors, we have a massive aesthetic change. We go from Fantasyland to seemingly MythOS, and this is where I got really excited, because I really enjoy the whole aesthetic of MythOS, and not so much Fantasyland, because come on, we've all seen Fantasy before. So that's why I was kind of expecting a lot more MythOS in this game, and very excited for it. But yeah, sadly we got a lot more of the Fantasyland aesthetic, which is still really nice, but I do prefer the MythOS one. And this is where we can also find a friend. I'm gonna call him Blue Ball Man. As we venture on with our Blue Ball Man, we can find Crablets, which are a very iconic enemy from Boneworks, but this time they have been made significantly weaker. I'd say maybe too weak, but yeah, these things used to be absolutely tanking in Boneworks. You could barely kill them. Speaking of old friends, we also meet the Null Bodies, and they have now had a redesign, and I've got to say, I think they look a lot better. I didn't know what to think of their redesign originally, but come on, they're looking super nice now. The game often also prompts you with several ways to kill enemies, and normally puts stuff above their heads. For example, these crates here, so if you actually shoot the stuff underneath it, obviously you can drop stuff on their head, which is a much more fun way to kill them. I also praised Boneworks massively for allowing you to use almost anything as a weapon, and now they've just only gone and improved this. For example, in Boneworks, sometimes chairs don't really damage enemies. Now everything kind of does the damage you would expect, which just makes combat so fun. And that's why you can kill people with Blue Ball Man. Ascent also shows us the newest, awesomest, most cool tech, moving objects and platforms. Now at the surface this might seem like, okay, cool, it's not that big, but we haven't really seen this before, especially not in Boneworks, and I'm not sure about other VR games because I'm going to be honest, I don't play any other VR games. But unfortunately we only really see these conveyor belts in like 2 of the levels in the game, where there's some really missed potential with moving objects like this. We are seemingly back in MythOS, and we get to have an awesome battle to some awesome music with some Omni projectors and null bodies, and come on man, this just feels like Boneworks. It's so awesome. But unfortunately that's seemingly all the time we're going to spend in MythOS. Yep, game over, see you guys. And that concludes Descent, an absolute great tutorial. I will avenge you, Blue Ball Man. So here we are. The BONELAB. The BONELAB is our new main menu, except it isn't main menu. So this is where we access everything in the game, and we also have access to this cool mirror. But the thing is, when you load up BONELAB, it pushes you into main menu, and then you have to load into BONELAB Hub. So it's kind of a 2-step process just to get here, which is really annoying because loading times can be quite slow in this game sometimes. And also, let me know in the comments if you guys actually knew how to beat this level, because there is actually an intended way to get to the next campaign level from here, through this entire Stress Level 0 section. But I never knew this, and I thought this was post-game content, but no, you're meant to come here straight away. So yeah, it took me until after I beat the entire game to actually come down here, but when I did really enjoy this segment. It's really awesome. This building up here is literally the Stress Level 0 office from Boneworks, the one you can find in Streets. They moved the entire thing, and you can imagine how I was reacting when I realised that this was straight out of Boneworks. Also, hey look, it's the guy that banned me from the Stress Level 0 Discord server for doing nothing wrong. Please unban me, I only said I was 10 years old as an obvious joke. While we're here, we also get the opportunity to see how much they've increased destruction. For example, when you break these, they now drop loads of 3D objects, unlike in Boneworks where they just kind of dropped loads of paper thin little bits. After a bit of classic puzzle solving, we finally find the intended route to get to the next level. Welcome to the first kind of real level in this game, I guess you could say, that isn't, you know, tutorial or a hub. And this stage, I think a more suitable name for it would be Ripoff, assuming that this level is a full-on rip-off of the Runoff level from Boneworks. And the interesting part about the first section of this level is that it poses you with Omni projectors, but for the first time seemingly ever, it doesn't actually give you a weapon to deal with them. So you're gonna have to play it how you want. You can go and rush them, or you can try play it stealth. I've played this level about 7 times, and there's this puzzle here with this ball. This has never failed for me, and I've heard people that it didn't work for them at all. I don't understand how it's never failed for me, or how it's failed for other people. Yes, this game might be a bit broken, but come on, all VR games are broken, so I think it's safe to say that this is still the best one. And I say it all the time, but I feel so fucking awesome when I play this game. And what's that I hear? Yes, they put fucking Boneworks music in this game. And if you didn't believe me that this is a Runoff ripoff, then this is literally the song that played for most of Runoff. And this game is called Longrun, Runoff. They look very similar, they play the same music. Come on, it all adds up. Also, I bet you didn't realise that there's this ball that you can shoot at the top of here to do this section. Yes, I've noticed it about 3 times now, but I've always noticed it after I finish running through the segment incorrectly. But yeah, it's an easy way to get rid of the turrets. Oh my god, I love this game. Oh, I love this game so much. I love it. I don't know why I take hours out of my life to play and talk about this game, because like, it's just amazing. Like, how else can I say it? Like, what's the point in making this video? Basically, this video in conclusion, this game is really good. Play it, it's the best game ever. Yeah, it just is. Like, just believe me, trust me. Sources, trust me, bro. But in all seriousness, my full heart and soul has gone into this video, so I really would appreciate it if you share this to fellow boners. It's kind of hard to explain it, but this level just serves as such a nice way to get back into things, just getting used to the mechanics and, you know, what you're doing in BONELAB. Another thing I love a lot about BONELAB is the manual reloading. Now, I'm sure almost everyone you've ever heard speak about this game has talked about the manual reloading before, but what's so awesome about it is just all the different ways you can do it. And you can just warp this to your own personal liking. You know, you can do the most over-the-top trick shot thing just to reload your gun once if you really want to, or you can just simply flick it out with the mag eject button, which they also added in this game, which was a mod feature in Boneworks, but now it's just in vanilla in BONELAB, which is so nice to have, and I really enjoy it. But the amount of ways you can reload, it's like actually endless. It's crazy, and I love it a lot. Be warned though, your first time on this puzzle will probably be the most infuriating thing you've ever experienced in your life, because that was like for me. I didn't really know what I was doing, and I kept getting stuck on launch pads and everything, and oh my god, it was annoying. But you'll get there eventually. And I'm sorry, but look at this final section. This is literally a part straight out of Runoff, but condensed and made small. Talk about optimization ruining this game. What an awesome topic to talk about. You should check out my video on that. Link in the description. Welcome to Mind Dive. But this is basically just a level where you ride a roller coaster, and you know, it shows off the fact that vehicles are in VR now. And I'm going to be honest, it is super cool, but there isn't a lot to say about this level, although there is a secret room I would like to go over.
That is why, to remind you of what we're working towards, we have created
a space using proprietary Longrun
technology that allows you to hear the hopes and dreams of every
child in the entire world.
The secret room has a single wishing well in the middle, and that's it. But it's not the room that's really interesting, it's the audio in the background. You hear this really atmospheric song, and you hear voices all around you saying different wishes, and there's just something about this that like just connects with me and like just makes me completely stop like being violent in this game for a second.
I wish that one day people would be judged on their character rather than this.
It's scenes like this that make me love this game so much. It's because it's just so surreal, and because it's a VR game, when you have that VR headset on your head, you feel like you're there, and just hearing this is so bizarre, and you just hear it all around you, and you feel like you're really there.
Present in every moment, so I could fly. I wish I could ride a dragon, fly around and burn all my enemies, live forever.
I could spend just one more day with my dear dog.
Become the person
This is no joke. I don't think I've ever connected with a game as much as I have this one. This is going to be my favourite game for a long time, if not forever. BONELAB and Boneworks are absolute masterpieces.
I wish my work would spread happiness and make the world into a better place.
We're not alone, friends. Believe in tomorrow. Because wishes come true every day.
I wish I could ride a roller coaster. I wish I could ride a roller coaster.
This game is actually unreal. What is this? Yeah, maybe let's actually talk about the actual level now. Like I mentioned earlier, there isn't a lot to speak about here, although they use one leitmotif in this level that is so awesome. That's right, it's the Who Am I leitmotif from Boneworks. I love this so much. The first time I heard it, I was like going crazy. And the last part of this level is also really great. You think you made it to the end, but this massive face appears in the wall and sucks you in, which I didn't realise until I got sucked in the first time, so it kind of scared the hell out of me. Welcome to probably the most freakiest level in the game, and also one of my favourites, and I think it would definitely be ranked higher if it wasn't so creepy. This place probably has some of my favourite battles, and also has some of my favourite rooms, but sadly I've heard a lot of people don't like this stage, which kind of makes me sad. And I've got to agree, I kind of don't like it in some aspects, but at the same time, I do think it's pretty good, overall. But they pose you with some really awesome weapons, and you also get to fight in these really awesome corridors and stuff. And in classic Boneworks fashion, it makes you feel like an absolute awesome, dude. Alright, it's Admire the Composer time. Michael Wyckoff, or Michael Wyckoff, I normally say Wyckoff, but I think Wyckoff is the right one, so I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing it. But this guy is like the best composer I know. He makes the music just so good, and it fits every scenario. And what song you hear right now is Robot Spiders, and this song is just so great to battle enemies to, it's amazing. This level has an extremely heavy backrooms aesthetic, and I've been waiting to play some sort of really cool backrooms VR game. So this is honestly all I need. This level does such a good job. It has very liminal spaces, and it also has no clipped objects in one room. This is also where we get access to my favourite shotgun. This thing is just so fun to play with, and you can shoot nobodies in the head so hard that they do flips. This place is so incredibly liminal, I love it. And this part is probably my favourite. This part down here is right out of the back rooms. It's the back rooms, but with nobodies. It's even better. The combat is honestly extremely satisfying in this game, and it's only gotten better since Boneworks. And honestly, I really wish the entirety of this game was like as good as this level, because it's just so much fun. Anyway, now that we're finally to Jimmy, I can tell you why I think he's so awesome. So I'm sure any true boners out there will know this, but Jimmy used to be the main character of Boneworks before the game released, and before it was changed to Ford. So this guy is the main character of Beta Boneworks, which is really interesting. And also, he was also displayed as a massive being in the title screen of Boneworks in early development. So was this all planned out from the beginning? Was he meant to be unused on purpose for lore purposes? We don't know. Street Puncher hits harder than your stepdad after a few drinks, literally. This also serves as our first introduction to different avatars. But unfortunately, these avatar levels aren't the best. I'll say more on that later. This level is basically a glorified tack trial, but it is really good and does have some super cool segments. But it's just kind of sad that it had to count as a story level, if that makes sense. This one is definitely one of the best ones though. If you love violence, you're definitely going to love this level, and if you don't like violence, then why are you playing this game in the first place? But I know for a fact that this katana segment is most likely a fan favourite. This level gives you the opportunity to try and look as cool as possible. And that exactly is definitely one of my favourite features of this game, is trying to look as cool as I can, and because the game allows me to look so cool, that's why I love it so much. Sprint Bridge is the best level in the game because it introduces tip physics. Just kidding, I'm not one of those people. Okay, so basically what I want to speak about in Sprint Bridge is the fact that these custom avatar levels are quite literally just the different game modes you can access in the BONELAB hub. For example, this is a parkour level and Street Puncher was attack trial. And don't get me wrong, I love and enjoy these stages very much, but I feel like it would have been beneficial if they managed this in a different way. Because these custom avatar levels take up basically half of the campaign, so there's no room for anything else. And what I think would be a good idea is if they had full-on story levels, but you need to obtain certain avatars to either make the levels a lot easier or to beat them. And for these missions, instead of completely deleting them, just put them into the separate game modes that they belong in. So this encourages players to go and explore different game modes to unlock new avatars to use in the story mode. Oh yeah, Sprint Bridge. As the Sprint Bridge itself, it's, you know, just kind of a generic level. It is very fun, but one thing I guess it does kind of show off is the fact that when you are on the side of a wall, your legs actually now, you know, stick to the wall instead of just dangle like they used to in Boneworks. You also enter some kind of weird crypt thing to finish the level. I was kind of scared when I first came in here because I didn't know what was like going on. Magma Gate is our arena story mode level. This one is definitely a lot of fun, but it's short and it's very simple, and it's kind of sad that it took up a story mode slot. But it's fun in what it's going for, so that's, you know, the good thing. Also, can I just say 1-inch punches are really powerful in this game, just like real life, which is quite funny. So while we're here, we have the opportunity to speak about how much combat has been improved. As you don't really notice a difference if you played Boneworks, but when you go back to Boneworks after playing BONELAB, you realise that there is a massive difference in punching. Punching used to feel like it felt like you had butter on your knuckles basically, and you know, when you punch someone, your fist would slide across the face as well as hitting them. But in this game, it has proper impact. Also, Heavy is definitely my favourite avatar. It's just so fun to be so powerful and just be able to like rip people to shreds. You punch so hard that you actually like launch people, which is just so fun. And you couldn't get it with Boneworks because obviously there wasn't really an official strong avatar. The closest I had was Spider-Man strength, which was really good. But now that this is a thing, oh my god, that's nothing. This game and level also introduces more stronger enemies, which is something Boneworks didn't have. All enemies had the same health, and now I think zombies have more health, and there's also these steel skeletons, which are super powerful. And my last thing about Magma Gate is, back on this back wall here, you can see some like hieroglyph things, I don't know what you'd call them, but it's the Crablet statue man from the throne room in Boneworks and other places, and also a little Crablet, which is pretty cool. That's right, in BONELAB you visit the moon, although it's not as cool as you think. What I love about this stage most is this map that they had to add to the front, because nobody knew where to go. And I guess it was kind of hard, but like, if you look hard enough, or like, it's not even too hard to look, if you just look, you will eventually find the goal. But yeah, they added these much needed launch pads, and now you can launch around the map, which is super cool. And the map is super fun to play around in. Problem is, that's it. This is a sandbox map, but it is used as a story mode map. So you can imagine there isn't a lot to actually do here apart from obviously mess around, which is great and all, but in the story, come on. Because people dislike this stage so much, they literally made it so you take 2 launch pads and you will land directly on top of the exit. So I mean, I guess it's a good thing, because you know, if you don't want to like walk all the way in anti-gravity, because obviously you walk slower, then you can get there super fast now. Which is nice, but I don't get why this was put into the story in the first place. They could have done something a lot cooler, like you can't actually enter any of the buildings, which is really sad. I don't know what to say. I gotta be honest, the boob physics are really fun to play with, and I really hope people make really good modded avatars with boobs. That was the worst sentence I've said in my entire life. As you can see, this level kind of sucks. There's nothing here. Unless you turn... This is the level that introduces go-karts, and these things are quite hard to control, but they are so fun, and they are honestly a really big feature and fun thing to play with in Sandbox. And I've had my fair things of fun, and this now also makes modded vehicles a lot more easier to make, seeming that there's actually a sit-down mechanic and stuff. It's just awesome! This soundtrack just leaves me absolutely speechless and my pants wet. And with that done, we now have one more avatar mission to go, and this one people always complain at, and I think it's pretty funny. So this is where we get our tall avatar, and my favourite part of this level is definitely this opening sequence, where our shadow becomes this void orb, and then like breaks out of the glass. This level is basically just a task of climbing up a massive pillar, you know, hence the name of the level. And a lot of people said they really struggled with this, which is interesting. I guess I'm too much of a pro gamer boner, but yeah, apparently a lot of people struggle with this. These little bird things you see flying around as well used to change your avatar every time they attacked you, which a lot of people found very infuriating, and I guess I do understand that. But I felt like that was kind of a feature of the level, and because people hated it so much, they full on removed it. And they also changed the layout of the level, which I think is pretty cool. They also added weapons all over the level. Come on guys, it's skill issue, honest. Although we do meet quite an interesting enemy here. It is the Void Turret, which are these little turrets, believe it or not, that shoot fires at you, which is cool. They're basically just the the fire skeletons if they were not skeletons, basically. And to finish the level off, once again like all the other levels, it is super short. But that's okay, because next level is going to be absolutely crazy, trust me. But yeah, to finish this level off, you fight a void ball, which is quite interesting. This is unlike anything we've seen yet, really. Going back to something I said about Boneworks, it's just segments like this, like, what is happening? Like, this is just so crazy, and because it's VR, you know, you obviously feel like you're here. It's like moments like this, where just random stuff is happening, and it's like chaotic as hell. I love it so much. It's so awesome. And you really do not get it with any other game. So now that we have all of our avatars, we go back to meet Jimmy, and he's going to give us a key in which we can use to unlock the Boneworks crate, which honestly was not what I expected. I thought it would be something a lot bigger, but it turns out it's just a gateway to get to the next story level, although it is still a really awesome segment. Oh yeah, not to mention we also get our body log thing, so now we can change avatars on the fly, which is super awesome. And this is going to be heavily shown off in the next level. It's going to be like a trial. When coming back to the lab, it feels extremely eerie. When you first leave the elevator, there is no music, and then also obviously when you come over to see the box, there's also no music. So it's just this eerie ambience. The game is just waiting for you to progress to the next level. This game is incredibly good at putting me on edge at any time. And this leads us to Ascent, definitely the best level in the game, and also the longest. This level takes about 20 minutes on average to beat, I'd say, which is like crazy. But yeah, this is like an absolute marathon where we get to test out all of our avatars with our new body log, and it's just such a good level. It's one of those levels that feels like Boneworks again, and you know how much I love that. Definitely starts off very interestingly though. This level starts off with a golf segment, which is pretty fun the first time, but revisiting this level, you know, sometimes I'm not in the mood to do this golf segment, and I do come to this level a hell of a lot, so you know, sometimes that's a bit annoying. But all you need is an Nimbus gun, and if you want to, you can skip all of it. Here's some advice if you're revisiting this level or doing it for the first time. The orange ball is actually the only one you need to put into a hole in this segment. So if you go as heavy, you can actually lift it over the wall and just get it straight down to where it needs to be instead of having to activate the blue one first. What's super interesting about this next segment is that there is straight up saw blades. And now these things work really well as well. They're not just like things that damage you, they're actually like physical props. As you'll see later, when things touch them, they actually like launch like things, if that makes sense. Moving on from that, the next segment is just a battle segment, so you know, it's pretty average, but in my opinion, this is like probably my favourite spot in the entire level, if not definitely one of my favourite spots. This is where Ripped to Bits plays, and this song is just such a banger, especially when the beat drops, and just shotgunning nobodies in the face to this music is so awesome. Similar to what I did with MythOS in Boneworks, I just wait round till the beat drops and then just go and destroy nobodies. Definitely one of my top probably 5 songs in the playlist. Let me know in the comments your guys' top music from this game. There's fighting enemies in this game, and then there's fighting enemies to the music, and oh my god, I don't even know how to explain how you feel. Michael is definitely my favourite composer, like, ever. Like, this music is actually unmatched, and this game is unmatched. Like, this game is not just, like, holder of my favourite game. This game is also holder of my favourite soundtrack. Like, to me, this game is just unstoppable, unbelievable. I can't even, like, get my words out. That's how much I love it. This level is basically just Champions Road for this game. It just compiles everything we've seen so far and cranks it up a notch. Throughout the span of this level, we see the influence of Melonbelly again, which was like a very big thing in Boneworks, and it's interesting to see it now because we didn't really see it anywhere else in the game. We saw a bit of it in Street Fighter. But anyways, you know that Stepdad loves his Melonbelly. Throughout this level, we hear the Back to the Lab song. What's interesting about this song is that its notes ascend, and we are in the level Ascent, so they actually match up super well, and it also plays in segments while you're climbing, so you actually do feel like you're going higher, which is an interesting difference to Boneworks, because in Boneworks, the Who Am I song has descending beats as you jump downwards into the void. And I apologise if I was using the wrong terminology there, because I am really not good at speaking up music, unfortunately, even though that is something I would very much like to do for a game like this. If anyone wants to collab, you just let me know, you know. This level also hits me with the sewers flashbacks with all these tunnels you go through. Oh, you guys know how I feel about the sewers level if you watch the Boneworks video. This part here reminds me very much of the gun range from Boneworks, if you guys remember that. There was like the weird like melon juice or whatever that is underneath us, which is interesting because the only other liquid we have seen is lava. God bless the people that made this game. Just the fact you can just pick up barrels and squash people like Goombas with them, like, that will never get old. Like, to no extent will that get old. Going back to the sewers thing, I am now completely unfazed by enemies being dropped on my head because I was so used to it in Boneworks that now BONELAB will never be able to scare me by dropping crablets on my head. That's right, this game makes you actually physically stronger and mentally stronger. I honestly cannot think of a game that has as much flexibility as this one does. If you guys can think of one, let me know in the comments. But like, I don't know any other game, because I mean, to start with, this is VR, so obviously you have full control of your hands and stuff. You're not set to certain animations. You can grab anything that is in your reach. And also just the fact that everything is physics based, and you can use everything as a weapon, you can use everything as a prop. I just don't know any other game that does it this well. I know I sound like I'm absolutely insane, but trust me, when you're in VR and playing this, it's a lot more different than it is in flat screen. A lot more better for that matter, because it's physically you in the game. Also, call back to what I said all the way back in Descent. Remember I said there's like conveyor belts in 2 levels? Yep, it's Descent and Ascent, I'm pretty sure, and here's the one in this level, which is super fun. I do like messing around on this. But come on, man, there's so much missed potential. I really wish they showed up in more levels. Also, I'm sure all you boners know that the small avatar is basically useless. Yeah, you don't even need him for these events. The tall avatar can get through these vents, and I actually prefer to go through as the tall guy because it's really funny just being some super lanky, terrifying guy crawling through the vents like an absolute horror. And the Melonbelly appearance earlier isn't the only one we're going to see. There's one here, and this time it's the actual barrels, which I don't think we have seen at all yet, which is very interesting. So it's very nice that there's this little bit of world building here where obviously this is a worldwide thing inside of MythOS and not, you know, just kind of one part of it. This segment's also one of my favorites because they even did it in the trailer. They just start flipping the bin at the Omni projectors, which is so comedic to me, and it's just so awesome being that powerful that you can just effortlessly flip bins at your enemies. This entire last part is just so awesome because the game feels so alive. Every corner you turn, there's Omni projectors and null bodies. There's just awesome fight scenarios where you can throw null bodies downstairs or, you know, use your props to your advantage. Definitely an improvement from Boneworks. And do not even get me started on the train segment. I have spent hours with my utility gun here just spawning in guys to get absolutely demolished by the train. And there's just never been this interactivity with Boneworks. It was a great game, but there's never really moving objects and stuff. And stuff like this, there's just endless possibilities of what you can mess around with. It's so good. Small detail, but I really love these void spell signs. They're just really funny how they're like custom. And can anyone explain to me why there's a comically large bin here? Like, this is bigger than all the other bins, and I just don't know why, because all the other ones are the same size, and that's like the only one that is different. Shit changes very fast in this level though. This is the last segment of the level, and all of a sudden we're seemingly back in Fantasyland once again, and there's just no music. It's really eerie and freaky, and there's this new enemy up on that building, which is called the Cultist, which was like really scary for me the first time I saw it, because in concept art you can see loads of them, and I thought maybe that means we're going to be encountering a lot of them soon. Turns out there isn't actually that many in the game, and they're pretty easy to kill, and they're only holograms. But they're still kind of freaky. First time I came through this segment, I was completely on edge. It is super freaky, but luckily there isn't actually anything to be scared of. But the first time I was super freaked out. But this last message at the end of the corridor is definitely very important, and is probably something to do leading up to the next game / big update. We can hear the sound of machines. Anyways, it's finally time that we go home. You instantly hear the cries of your once former friends, telling you that you should be dead and you should have never came back. The atmosphere is completely drab and lacking any personality or colour. Your own people now have absolutely nothing to lose, so they're just coming at you ready to die. No matter what you do to try and prevent them from hurting you, they're just going to carry on. So you either run away or you handle them yourself. Home is an absolutely amazing level and very touching. Unfortunately, I have the boner curse and feel no remorse when killing people, so my first playthrough coming through here, I slaughtered everyone without even batting an eye. But now I've realised that you're actually meant to feel some sort of regret when you come through here, and I honestly love that a lot. I'm just sad I felt nothing myself the first time I came through here, but that's not the game's fault, it's my fault. The music and the visuals of this place are really dark and really display what the peasants are now feeling. They have nothing left, they've been abandoned, and they are now trapped inside this simulation forever. And now the person they thought killed has come back. How worse can things get? They might as well be better off dead. And in BONELAB, you play as yourself, and this level really shows that, because depending on how you manage going through this level will show what kind of person you are. I am definitely not a good person. So are we the hero or the villain in this situation? And I think it's been left up to yourself to decide that decision. We walk past the noose as a reminder of where this all started and where we should have ended up. You can even kill the dead, which I think is a bit unnecessary. The peasants are fighting a fight in which they know they will lose, but yep, they have nothing to lose. So they just carry on fighting. Then again, they're also just AI, so they have a choice. Definitely the most impactful stage in the entire game. If you have emotion, that is. As we enter the final room, we hear voices distantly calling us, saying welcome back. And our friend Jimmy also shows up, but not fully, just his finger and hand, and it's really long for some reason and also terrifying. And this has to be one of the strongest and weirdest endings to a game I've played in a long time. It's finally time that we ascend to the void and leave Fantasyland behind forever. This is one of my favourite moments, like, ever. We hear holy singing voices almost as we ascend into the white light and leave the dark, sad Fantasyland behind. The first time I ascended, I actually apologised to Fantasyland for what I did to them and then just left. There is no turning back beyond this point, but would you rather live forever in the void or live forever in Fantasyland, where you are limited to what you can do? Can I just say that this song is absolutely beautiful and fits the moment so perfectly. Going off what I said earlier about the void, we always see the void in a bright light in this game as we ascend, where as in Boneworks we saw the void as almost a bad thing and descended, but in BONELAB we see it as light instead of dark and ascend upwards instead of downwards. So perhaps void can come in different forms, or perhaps people see it differently, and the way they see it is the way it manifests.
But it's not going to stick around long at the nice price of $19.99. Hey, there you are.
We finally get to actually hang out with Jimmy in a taxi, but not that type of taxi. But before we do, we see this ominous elevator that currently serves no purpose, but in the latest update they added this smashed crate here. So obviously something's going down here. And I think if any future updates come to this game, this elevator is definitely going to be important.
Hey friend, I need a push to get going here. Woohoo! Alright, good job. Hop on in. We gotta be somewhere. You are listening to 98.6 WCCK, Dead FM, Road Warrior Edition.
One thing about Jimmy's car is that you can see the taxi fare prices, and there's some sort of place called Pile. And it is priced very expensively, or at least for a taxi. So what I'm thinking is, if they release paid DLC for this game, do you think that's our price right there? And this is foreshadowing?
But hey, welcome home. Everything's possible in the Lava Gate.
The last thing Jimmy says to us is Welcome Home, which is the song that we just heard when we ascended. And just like that, we've looped the game. We end up back at main menu. This game is an endless loop, and I wonder if we will eventually break this loop in future updates. But now that we are one with the void, we have a lot of side content to explore. Starting off with Tax Trial, Drop Pit is a very fun level that is quite replayable, and there's also a secret in this level where you can go and explore, which I think is super fun. In the second section where you obtain a pistol, there is a vent on the side of one of the walls, which you can go inside and then drop into a bathroom. I like to bring the silenced pistol for an extra stealthy effect. We do not see any room like this in the entire game, which is quite interesting. And also you can find other enemies in other cubicles, which is quite funny. The other tactical trial is Neon District, and this one is quite interesting because it allows us to use the red Glocks again. And remember, each Glock has 15 bullets in it, and there is 30 enemies, so if you hit every single headshot, then you can actually kill all the nobodies without having to reload once, which is quite interesting, and it's quite a good test of skill. It feels really rewarding to just run through here and one hit all of them in the head. What's interesting about the red Glock is that it one-shot headshots, unlike the normal Glock, except it still has the same ammo count, so that's quite interesting, and I'm sad that we can't really unlock this yet. This level's also where Bone Step plays, which is an absolutely amazing song, especially when the beat drops, like most of these really awesome songs. Definitely, once again, one of my top songs. Although the story might have been kinda short in this game, I think it was really great. And there's just so much side content stuff to do. Imagine this game like Gmod VR. Instead of like the game actually having stuff for you, you either make it yourself with mods, or you just, you know, use your imagination to play in the like endless sandboxes. Arena is simply just a place where you can spend hours just killing enemies and finding as many ways possible on how to kill them. Container Yard is the only map that really has some sort of story-based kind of thing, which makes sense because they're just arenas. But this one's super fun. You have to get energy out of these void pump things and then power a massive thing to get into a void portal to get out of here. This level is very reminiscent of Zombie Warehouse from Boneworks, except unfortunately it doesn't play the Zombie Warehouse music. I'm gonna miss that. That song was a banger. This level is also where you can pick up the E something blaster. I don't know what this thing's called, but it's like some sort of laser gun thing and it's really powerful and super fun to play with. Then you can enter the portal and get back home. And also if you want to, you can select an endless game mode, so endless waves of enemies will come until you get bored. These arenas are definitely an improvement from Boneworks, because there was like one arena you could have endless waves of enemies coming at you in Boneworks, but now I think they all do it. In terms of sandbox, there is one very good secret on Museum Basement, and I love this so much. So if you go to the top of the foam castle, you can actually get yourself a battery and then come to this exit door. That's right, it's not just for show. And back here is kind of like the back rooms of the museum from Boneworks. This is literally the closest we can be to Boneworks right now. I started playing Boneworks this year, 2022, and there's just something about it that's already nostalgic to me. So being this close to it in BONELAB was really special. This entire segment actually has purpose and reason to be here. It's because Monogon has become paranoid that Arthur Ford became immortal, so they are now destroying everything in the museum in case it's all anomalous objects, because they were made contact with Ford. We can even see the collect them all machine from the main menu of Boneworks, which is so awesome because it even displays the old models for weapons and enemies. The more you look around, the more old props you see and the more references you see, and I love that so much. Also, has anybody else noticed that you literally cannot wear helmets anymore? They full on removed it from the game. Yeah, remember what they took from us. I love this entire little secret part because it's so massive, and it's also not just, you know, like a walking simulator. There's actually enemies to fight and stuff, which is so cool. As we make our way up a massive staircase, we end up back on surface level floor. When I first came up here, I couldn't believe what I was seeing and hearing. That's right, we're technically back in the museum, and that means that the museum song plays, and I never thought I would hear this song in this game. I was so happy. And this means that technically, the gift shop, what we could enter in Boneworks, is behind this quarantine door. We are so close to Boneworks, literally a door away. This is the last thing I expected to be getting into by just opening a random door as a secret. And to finish this secret place off, you jump down a hole that looks extremely similar to the one you jump down to get to streets in Boneworks. Once again, just such an awesome callback. And it doesn't even end there. There is one last room to this place with just more and more references. There's even one of those big null body statues that we saw in the museum. This is unbelievable. I'm going to miss the days of Boneworks multiplayer so much. There was nothing better than seeing 5 Fords run around the museum causing chaos. Rooftops is a really awesome map, and to be honest, I'm surprised this isn't one of the Avatar missions, because I think this would work very well as one of them. This level is also apparently a Matrix reference, and I probably would understand it, but I haven't watched Matrix, so I don't know, but that's pretty awesome. I love the scenery in this level. I love how it's like in the middle of a city and it has loads of neon billboards and stuff. It's really awesome. Unlike anything we've seen yet, really. Jumping from building to building with super intense music will never get old, and it is just super awesome. Here's another amazing example of just how powerful Heavy is. I love just being able to just smash loads of boxes and just launch them all out of my way with absolute ease. There's also a little thing for that audience on this level. I'm going to be honest, it's pretty cool. And to finish this level off, you take a massive leap from a launch pad and jump straight through a window, which is super fun and cool. Experimental is very interesting. It doesn't have many levels and a lot of them are very weird, but this one just basically shows off the mirror. There is some sort of small secret on this map. You can see a void leak on the ceiling, and then if you somehow get to the top by climbing, or you can just nimbus gun it, you can find a massive black void orb thing. And I don't know what its purpose is. It currently doesn't do anything. What is interesting is that it leaves bullet holes when you shoot it. I wonder if this will mean something in a later update. And that leaves us with one final segment. Mods. Oh boy. Mods are actually huge for this game. Like I said earlier, this is basically Gmod VR, and what people are making already without even having the full tools unlocked is crazy. There's grenades, rocket launchers, lightsabers, and they all work really well. And honestly, I've been having so much fun with mods, and technically, the fun can be infinite. But mods aren't just mods in this game, they're actually part of the story, which is crazy. And I think the more we make mods, the more we might learn about the story, which I know sounds absolutely crazy, but I think Stress Level Zero has something very clever planned out right now. What other game is this stuff possible in to this extent? Like, there is nothing that is as good as launching Jimmy across the entirety of a lab with a rocket launcher. It is honestly amazing to be part of a community where people make such cool stuff, and just being able to share this with all your fellow people that enjoy the same game as much as you do is amazing. I'm honestly at the edge of my seat to see what Stress Level Zero does next, and also what the modders do next. There's already been so much stuff, and this game's only 2 months in. It is actually incredible. And I beg that this game gets some sort of DLC. I will do anything for more official stuff in this game, because it's honestly amazing. I don't want this game to like ever end. I just want there to be updates for it forever. But sadly, that's not how it's gonna go. But hopefully Stress Level Zero's next game is going to be just as amazing as this one. And I thank them very much for making these games. These games are unlike any other. I will support their company no matter what they do next. And so what if some VR games do something slightly better than they do? There is no other company that treats their fans the way Stress Level Zero does. With all that said, I honestly think that might be the end of the video. Thank you Stress Level Zero for making my favourite game again. And thank you so much to anybody that watched the entirety of this video, or anybody that watched it all for that matter. I respect you more than anybody else, and I wouldn't be here without you. I put my absolute heart and soul into this video, so I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to leave a like, and make sure to share with any of your fellow boners. This game and this video has been a massive adventure for me, and I hope it has for you too. I don't know where I would be without my loyal subscribers and without this game. Once again, one last thank you. I really appreciate it, and I will see you guys next time. Thank you for watching, and remember to keep playing BONELAB.